Hello there, I am Jatanai, also known as Green Cat. I am the community manager for Climatic Games, and I also help Anthony in Photoshop preparing the assets for a Platypus Reclade.
Hi, I'm Anthony, and here we are at the Design an Enemy competition submission winner announcement video. So we're going to go through all of these submissions that we've got. We're going to talk about each one and find out who's won this thing. I've been quite overwhelmed, to be honest, about how many submissions and how many awesome videos and other artworks that people have submitted. It was way more than I expected. There's been loads of great entries. It's an impossible task to pick a single winner out of all of the awesome designs, but we're going to have to see what we can do, I guess. Special shout out, I would say, to everyone who actually made a clay model. It wasn't a requirement, but I hope you had fun doing it. It's always neat to see people giving it a go.
All right, the first entry we have is from Hayabusa. We have the Denizen and the Beamer. The Denizen is a small UFO enemy that disguises itself as part of the landscape. It pops out of the ground and confronts the player. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a neat idea. It's one of those things that would have an impact when people saw it for the first time.
It is very mysterious. A pleasant surprise, to be sure.
A pleasant surprise, I'm not so sure.
Well, not pleasant, but such a cool idea is what I mean.
Yeah, it's dramatic, right? It's got drama.
All right, next up we have the Beamer. A mid-sized UFO enemy. It doesn't attack. Instead, it uses a powerful tractor beam to pull the player towards itself. And once it collides with the player, they'll both explode. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, this is one of those sort of more radical ideas, gameplay-wise. All of these ideas like this, I feel like, yeah, I really would quite like to explore these ideas fully. But they're the sort of thing that I feel like you'd need to give a whole level over and make it the feature enemy of that level. It's the sort of thing that we would need more time to do full justice to. There's a few ideas like that. They really sort of introduce new mechanics to the game that could have like all kinds of ramifications that I don't want to get into right now because we're right near the end of this game, but I would love to explore further in future.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a lot of cool submissions that introduce some new mechanics, and as cool as they are, they might pose some trouble and time to implement. We're on a strict schedule here, so...
I'd love to come back to some of these ideas at some point in future and do them properly because there's like loads of great ideas.
Next up, we have the Skipper from Typu.
Oh, yes. This is the skipper boat that would skip on the water. I really like this idea. It's a nice, simple idea that would work well in the existing level. And it's, would be easy to implement. A lot of things about that level 3, things are happening on that ground plane, on the ocean. So a lot of things are happening at the bottom of the screen. So having this boat that sort of skips and jumps like that brings the action up higher. It would work really well with the other boats. I think this is neat.
I'm really loving the creativity here. It's adding like a lot of variety. Like the original game has some really interesting enemy designs, but the competition takes it to a whole another level with all these interesting mechanics. You have the skipper skipping across the water. It has a lot of character, and I really love the idea you came up with.
What was that, the idea?
The idea was that, it skips like a stone and it jumps up to avoid shots or try
to
hit you.
Right. Yeah, I think it would work quite well. I wonder if the boat would be pointing in the other direction, just because of the way that you fly. If something's coming at you from right to left, it can be moving quite quickly, because the ground is moving quite quickly towards you.
Yeah, I guess another thing is you're not quite sure how we would be implemented right away. You gotta test it out and think about it.
Any new thing is going to be, some of them are riskier than others. Some things, like, I reckon this would work straight off the bat. It's one of those ideas that's not too complicated and it would fit in with the existing mechanics of the game. So I really like this one. It's a good, simple, straightforward idea that would work.
We got 2 others on the slide. We have the Skysweeper up next. This one is from SonicTheGod.exe.
Now this is a big blimp that's dropping a bunch of mines, and it has a set piece that involves dropping mines. Would work really well in the middle of the game as a boss, I think. Again, it's one of those quite large ideas. You could really make a boss or a sub-boss for the game with this thing, but it's quite a large involved enemy with multiple sort of moving parts. It's just probably a little too big to fit in the spaces that we have.
Yeah, I think what they're suggesting here is that when you attack the mines, the shards will damage the blimp. That's a neat idea right there.
Yeah. But again, it's one of those things that would take a bit of testing and fiddling around with. I think, to me, this sounds like a boss fight idea, and it would be great in a subsequent game.
I do agree with you, because you're taught about the landmines in the beginning of the level, so reintroducing them and using them as a weapon instead against against the boss seems like a cool idea.
We don't have any blimps in the game either, except for the background blimp that goes past and gives you hints. Seeing a big blimp up close, I never wonder what was up with that blimp. He's on your side, I guess. I guess they don't have radio communication, so they communicate by giant blimps.
Well, the story quite is a mystery, but it's led to a lot of creative stories and fandom from the community, so I'd say you've done well.
Pays not to think about it too hard.
Next up, we have the C-28 Chameleon, also from SonicTheGod.exe.
Yeah, so this is a ship that resembles you and can steal your power-ups. So it's another one of these kind of high concept ideas.
It sounds like another boss fight from the look of it, with being able to steal the player's ideas is a big deal, so.
Yeah, again, it's something that you would want to design a whole level around and really sort of make the most of that mechanic. I think it's not the sort of thing that you'd have just turn up and have it happen once. It's another one of those really neat sort of game expanding ideas that probably just goes a little too far for what we need for our modest ambitions for this particular thing.
Yeah, that is the reality, but I will say it is a really cool idea having all these weapons at your disposal and then suddenly having it turned against you. It sounds like a fun battle, but like Anthony said, it's going to take quite a bit of work.
I still really like the fact that people have been checking out all of these like really out of the box suggestions, you know? It's good for us as developers to be sort of challenged to push things further.
Yeah, and I think it fits in with like Platypus itself. The game is quite silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously. Stuff like this is very welcome.
It's a fine line. It's kind of like there's like a degree of seriousness to it. Everything's got its own kind of logic. It's all sort of technology but it's also giant fruits and silly things. So
yeah.
It's a cartoon war.
Next up, from IzzatDJX, we have Turret Lightning and the Lightning Ship.
So it's basically like a turret that fires lightning. It's a good idea, and I think we already had some plans for doing things along those lines. I've made some extra turrets. There's been a few instances like this where people have submitted things that are just the same as like what we've already thought of, which is not a bad thing. It probably means that we're working on the right lines.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like me. You're thinking like me and coming up with my ideas at the same time.
So yeah, IzzatDJX, it's a cool idea, and as it turns out, it's something we are already working on, so I guess congrats.
There's a few things like that, and there's a few other things that people have suggested where I've just thought, that wouldn't even require any new artwork or anything. We could just do that. It's probably a good idea. Lightning ship. Yep. Okay, so this is a ship, basically like a gunship, which has a lightning turret on it. Again, you may see something quite similar to this appear in the game because we have a bunch of things planned along those lines of like making various gunships with different kinds of turrets on them.
Yeah, it's another cool idea. You have all these enemies in the game. They're shooting bullets at you. Some shoot one bullet, some shoot multiple bullets. Then suddenly you have an enemy that shoots lightning at you. It's kind of terrifying, and I think it's kind of thrilling at the same time. So another cool idea.
Well, we have the lightning ships in the original game. Like they appear in level 4, but they only fire lightning directly sideways.
Oh yeah.
Because there was no capability to rotate sprites in the original game. We made it more than 20 years ago. They were all, rotation wasn't part of what the sprite library could do. So I could only fire them straight sideways. But of course, technology being what it is, we can actually rotate sprites now and many more things besides. So making lightning guns that can sweep and rotate the lightning is one of the things that we were planning to, expand on the original set. So that's exactly one of the ways of thinking of doing it, You make a different kind of gun turret, you put the lightning on it, you put it on as a modification of the gunship. Such a perfectly good idea that I was already thinking along those lines. So congratulations in some ways, but also we're already thinking along those lines.
All right, next up we have twin-head aircraft from Warmaster Shauqi. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Apologies to anyone whose usernames we're getting completely wrong.
Twin-head aircraft comes in a pair and will try to harass the player. So I guess we gotta look at the image. They got a rotable. They have a rotatable turret and a fixed
I know what
turret.
you mean.
Yeah, so one rotates, the one is fixed. It's another cool idea. What do you think, Anthony?
I think it's a perfectly decent mid-size enemy design. It's in the style. It works. We've got the rotating turrets. We've got the engines puffing out their little smoke rings and a laser out the front that will work with all our assets. And I like its shape. It's got a nice kind of pleasing shape. I'd be perfectly happy to include this in the game. This is a perfectly decent mid-size enemy that would work really well.
Yeah, what Anthony said, and I'm wondering what's coming out of the front. What type of attack that looks like. Maybe some sort of plasma beam.
Yeah, so some kind of laser or something. It says it's on a fixed turret, so I guess it's going to there may be like some attack from the front and attack from the behind. Depends on how you move it around the screen, where you bring it in, and whether it parks itself on the right or the left. I guess with something with guns on both ends, you could do an attack. You fly in from the right, and then you attack the player on the left, and then you crowd them out on the left, and they have to go the other way, and then it starts shooting it with its other gun.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of imagining you have all the space to maneuver around the enemy, whereas the laser comes in and it kind of splits off your free space. Maybe not as effective as shooting it at the front, but I'm sure if it was like pointed in another direction, it would limit your movement and introduce an interesting challenge for the player.
Well, the thing about when enemies get behind you, and it does that in the original game quite a few times, when an enemy gets behind you, then you can't shoot it. So it's sort of got like the homing missile guys, they come in and then they park on the left, and you have to go to the right of them, and you just have to deal with their missiles until they move off, because you can't get around behind them, you can't shoot them. So it's a way, if you've got guns on the front and guns on the back of your ship, then you can set it up as a sort of a two-pronged attack. It's all about how they move, how you move them around the screen.
Yeah.
These are all the little details that you figure out, in the implementation part, but this would absolutely work. You'd find a way to make this work. You'd make a flight path that works with the weapons and ties in with the player and makes itself a nuisance. They mentioned they come in pairs. Sure, it's a good looking one. I think it's a nice sort of stylish design.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for this submission, Warmaster. Let's see what's next. Next up, they said, sorry for doing this on paper, but I suck at drawing. This is way too hard for me to do digital.
Fine, I draw on paper too.
Yeah, paper is totally welcome. We have the Super Fortress, the Booby Trap, the Mineship, and the Jammer. And there's a ship version of the Jammer. That's cool.
Yes. Which should we start with? Super Fortress?
Sure. It says it has a reactive shield that will deflect your shots. It's bent to protect its core, but you can damage it for the gaps. All right, that makes sense.
Yes, we've had a few entries that are based sort of around this idea, like the circular thing with the spinning shields that you shoot between. Mm-hmm. So we may see one or two more variants on this idea. I imagine it's something that, I've definitely seen similar things in other shoot-'em-ups before. It's not something that we have in Platypus currently, and again, it's tried and tested, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen this in a few games myself, so good idea. Next up, we have the Booby Trap. This is one you don't want to shoot. They say if you shoot the balloon, it has mines inside, and if you shoot the crate, it might release homing rockets or mines as well, so.
This is one of those ideas where someone suggested it, and I just thought, that's just, something that we could probably put in the game without even doing much. It's quite a good idea. When they said that some of the crates, I don't even know if you'd need to put a skull and crossbones balloon on it and have the mines. Just the idea that some of the crates were booby trapped, and instead of having a prize on them, have a bunch of homing missiles come out when you shoot them. That's such a simple idea, but it would work really well.
Yeah, I like the idea as well.
And it wouldn't require any work from me, which is, it's a purely programming thing. So this is a good idea. Great one.
Next, we have the Mineship. It's a ship armed with 2 cannons. It says low fire rate, so it looks like the bullets will spread out and explode after a set distance. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the bullets are like shrapnel bullet.
Yeah.
So the bullet flies out and then it explodes into a starburst, which, again, is one of those things that's kind of a common idea, which we have not used in Platypus, which would probably be a good thing to include. So I don't know if we will or not, but it's like we're going to add some extra bullet types. That's one extra bullet type we could think about doing.
When he says like it's something that's been done before, I guess it's like
this genre has had thousands of games, so everything has been done before.
I was gonna say, seen it done before. It's something that we're able to reference, so it is useful in that way. Seeing how other people have done it, that saves a bit of time and thinking about a lot of things.
It's just one of those simple ideas that would work. Another perfectly good mid-size attack ship, and it's the kind of thing that I could totally see us including something like that in the game.
Awesome. Well, next we have the Jammer. It says if you get hit by the lasers, you won't be able to move or shoot for 3 seconds. So I guess the point of this enemy is to stall your movement, making you vulnerable to other enemies in the area.
So you either cannot move or cannot shoot. I think if you couldn't move, you would be screwed. I think losing the power to shoot for a few seconds might be an interesting kind of penalty. People would hate it, but it might be interesting. But freezing a character so they can't move in a game like this would be pretty fatal, I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot going on at times, so losing your ability to move does sound kind of annoying.
It's another one of those sort of high concept ideas that would probably take a lot of fiddling around to get to work in a usable way.
But yeah, despite that, it is another cool idea and make gameplay interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely is a cool idea. It's one of the more ambitious ideas that you put in the ambitious pile. More experimental kind of stuff, I guess. And yeah, we love to see the experimental stuff. Not always practical in the moment, but it's all for the good.
All right, thanks for the submission. Yeah, I'm not sure to pronounce it.
Oh gosh, garuzikurinovich, Polsinski.
Oh, there you go.
For Poland. Well, good luck.
Good luck. All right, next up we have the Beast from Rotten Tanuki. We featured this one on our socials. Kind of resembles the look of a Nautilus, but it has a crab claw coming out of the shell. And they say that it has a turret at the top that shoots bullets at the player. And if it wants to protect itself, it shoots bubbles to block the player's bullets.
I think this is really neat. Look at that model. I love the colors of it. It looks so cool. It's definitely a bit of a departure to have this kind of animal machine hybrid. The Colossotropolins getting into some biological experimenting. To me, like when I see it, I think, oh, well, it looks a little out of place flying here. I'd like to put it in an underwater level, but we don't have an underwater level. But if we did have an underwater level, this would be a cool feature boss or sub-boss. It's very pretty.
Yeah, it does sound really cool. I'm imagining you just swimming in a submarine. Sounds like a really cool platypus idea.
Oh, well, I'm sure they could go underwater, you know. Why not?
Okay, well, these
airplanes can fly underwater, can't they?
Not any that I have seen, but I guess I'll have to keep a look at.
It would be neat to see in a mod or something, some of these models and things. Maybe somebody can make a mod for an underwater level.
Oh yeah, we really love to see the mods and community content. So thanks for all of that. All right, next up we have the Sea Serpent from Star.
The Sea Serpent. So this is like a mechanical kind of snake creature that does a big swooping dive across the screen in level 3. Comes out of the water and does a big dolphin dive.
Yeah, they're saying it telegraphs its attack by showing like a geyser of water, and then it's going to try to lunge at the player. You got to dodge it. They say if you defeat it, it gives the same amount of points as killing this chain of smaller enemies. So another cool idea. It is really cool seeing the ideas that are coming from the water. We don't have a lot of those in the game.
Indeed. It's one of those things that would fit in really, really well with level 3. And again, talking about using that space, the water at the bottom and then coming out into the all of the top area. Another one of those ideas that would work perfectly well. It's been in other shoot 'em ups before, like the fire dragon things in the Gradius games. It's an idea that we've seen before and it works really well. It would work really well here. The only thing is that there would be quite a bit of animation to do because it has several segments and all of those segments are in rotation. And as you would know, when we have rotating stuff in this game, I actually rotate it on a turntable so that we have the lighting consistent as it rotates around. So this would be quite a bit of animation to get all of those rotating segments looking like they should. Also, if the tail end is spinning as well, I think if the tail end is spinning and rotating, that's something that if it was a 3D model, it would be one thing. But because we're doing this with photography and trying to rotate it and keeping the lighting consistent, there's things that make this a bit complex, even though from a gameplay perspective, it's a good idea and it would work well.
Yeah, I've seen firsthand some of these Photoshop files from Anthony. Some of them have over 100 frames and cutting them out takes forever. So it is a lot of work to animate something like this, but like Anthony said, it's a really cool idea and love seeing it with the water levels.
Yeah.
Next up, we have James Salcedo.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a few of these from James. First, you have the Heartburst. They say its attacks are heart-shaped. When destroyed, it releases a barrage of bullets that scatter across the entire screen.
The second one with the stars is pointy appendages fire lightning like stars in front and back. They're all good sort of mid-sized ships with different sort of character to their attack. Third ship is like a butterfly, moves like a butterfly, darts all over the screen, shooting diagonal green energy waves. And then finally, we have this Abyssal lance, which is long. And the idea here is that they appear at the top and the bottom of the screen and they block in the player. They really sort of trap the player like a sandwich between these two long ships. And then they can fire from the sides at you. And these are all good, solid, sort of mid-level enemy designs. They're all perfectly good, workable.
Yeah, they're really cool. I do like the Abyssal lance. Restricting the player's movement space is another challenge for the player. It makes gameplay more interesting. It's up to the game designer.
Well, it's something that we haven't done. It's like, I never did actually put a long thing in the game that sandwiches the player vertically, apart from the lightning bolts, but never done it with a ship. It's something you see in some shoot 'em ups, and it would work well with Platypus, where we actually do a lot of sort of boxing players in with big ships, pushing them around the screen. So that would fit right in with it. And the other ones are all good, solid, mid-level ship designs. I like that they've all got their own character to them. Each one has a very specific kind of design.
Yeah, one thing I appreciate about Platypus and a lot of the fan art is it kind of departs from the typical mechanical vehicle design. They all have their own unique looks, and it makes it really unique. So really love to see this. Next up, we have the Blackhole mine from IzzatDJX.
And we've got a bunch of different variants on it, which is always nice to see. This is a variant on the barrage balloons.
Oh.
Except it's a black hole mine that rather than sending out shards, it creates a black hole that will suck you in potentially.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they plan to have the player be destroyed upon impact, or is it just going to influence the player's movement? Because that's also annoying.
I guess if you were sucked in, perhaps. This is another one of those ideas that has like lots of implications that I feel like if you're going to do it, you'd build a whole level around it. Because like I'd be thinking, okay, does the black hole bend your bullets as well? Maybe bullets get sucked into black holes or they get bent around them. It would be a really cool thing to play with, but it would also be a lot of code changes and potentially break a lot of existing code structures. So it's another one to put into the pile of interesting experimental ideas.
100%. All right, next up we have a submission from Farrelkabeh. They have some sort of starship design, which is really cool. We saw another entry like this as well from Mac Uni, and they're both really cool. So what do you think, Anthony?
I think this is a really nice looking spaceship design.
Yeah, and the concept is really well done because without any writing, just from the image alone, you can tell exactly what it does. So good job.
Yeah, I really like the design. I like the colors, just the simplicity of it. It would fit right in with the kind of nonsense. I shouldn't say nonsense. The silliness, the silliness of my own creations.
Oh, thank you, Farrell, for contributing to the silliness. We are pleased.
No, it's really stylish. I don't want to say that it's silly. This is a stylish looking design. I like it.
Yeah.
Again, anything with rotations, though, causes animation complications and lots of frames for you to cut out.
I assume you'd just be put on an axle and just rotate one model. You wouldn't have to make a bunch of new ones. But you tell me, you're the expert.
Well, with these things, symmetrical rotating things, what I tend to do, you will have seen, is I'll make one segment of it and then I rotate it through 360 degrees and then I make a composite image of all the different pieces.
Right.
And that way you only have to make it rotate through 1/5 of its full rotation and then it repeats. Like the fins on the rotating fins on the squids. But it's complicated to get right and a lot of fiddling. It looks good when it's done.
Yep, understood. I completely understand. Next up, we have the pallet drone from Timmy.
A pilotless drone, huh?
It says, it is really fast and spreads bullets like this one, described in the picture. So it shoots a spread of bullets, and they said it moves really fast. It is a cool design. It's reminded me of like one of the spiders I've seen, the way like the head looks.
Oh yeah, because it's got mandibles and that. This is another perfectly good usable design. It's simple. It would fit in with the game, and I like the detached wings, the sort of bladey wings that are only attached by small pieces. It's a little bit different from the designs that I did. I quite like the style of it.
Yeah, it has a bit more of a skeletal look, more of an insect, so it is looking quite good.
Yeah, it's definitely slightly more sort of evil.
Well, you heard it here.
I shouldn't judge. I don't know. Well, they're all evil. They're all evil. They're all the bad guys.
Well, thank you, Timmy.
There's no moral relativity.
Next up, we have the Drill-a-lotl from Technolotl.
Okay.
They said the Drill-a-lotl with God knows how many rotations per minute. Wow, this would be quite a fast rotating ship. And I am already getting the idea with the drill. It's going to attack the player.
I guess it drills up through the ground. Is that maybe like for a cave level?
That would be cool. I was going to say, if you touch any of the ships in the game, your ship will explode. So I'm not sure if it's going to have much of an effect with that drill. It does look threatening though.
I could see it being used on like there's the cave level in the PSP game where you have the top and bottom cave walls. I could imagine the drill ships popping out of the top and bottom cave walls and attacking you. So I could see it being used in that particular scenario.
Oh wow, I just looked this up. I've never seen this before. That's quite interesting. I guess the PSP...
Oh, the PSP game, yeah.
Took quite a departure.
There's a reason for that. It's because it was an existing game. It was a game that had already come out on previous platforms, and Sony had a policy that anything on the PSP that had already been released previously on some other platform had to have at least 20% of new content. They had to add extra levels in order to meet Sony's certification requirements.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, so the PSP game has new levels that are not in any other version of the game.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the submission, Technolotl. Next up, from Light and Dark. They've made quite a lot of fan honored themselves. They have a couple of different tanks here: missile tank, gun tank, flamethrower tank, laser tank, bomb tank, and lightning tank.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of different tank variations here for level 1.
Yeah, Light and Dark, they said that there's not a lot of ground enemies, so they were looking to introduce some more. Again, some nice ideas here. I don't think you have any flamethrower enemies in the game, so that's a new one there.
Yes, I think there was a flamethrower in Platypus 2, but I think it looked a bit more like breakfast cereal coming out of it than actual fire. We made some nice flamethrower animations for Cletus Clay that we were thinking about bringing into Clodhoppers. We've done some experiments with flamethrower animations before. It's tricky to get right. It's another one of those things like the lightning turret. It's a good usable addition to our turret repertoire if we could get the flame to look nice.
Yeah, so a lot of cool tank designs here.
Yeah, I like that red tank. I don't want to have to animate a tank tread right now. So laser tank, bomb tank, lightning tank. That lightning tank's cool. It's very aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive design. But it looks like it's summoning a lot of power to shoot that lightning, so it's kind of cool in that sense. You have all these like, I don't know what to call them, these prongs sticking out and it's generating lightning, so I feel like it's kind of appropriate maybe.
These would all work really, really well in the end of the game, I think. There's that bit at the end of the game that nobody's seen yet, which has a nice flat ground plane at the bottom where any of these kinds of tanks would be interesting, useful to stick in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a bunch of nice tank designs. The only thing that makes me hesitant about them is like doing the all of the tread animations.
Yeah, that would take some time, but nonetheless,
I mean, it's all fun doing that kind of thing, but it's time consuming and we don't have much time right now.
Correct. But yes, a lot of cool tank designs. Thank you for the submission, Light and Dark. All right, next up we have Legabo. They've submitted the false alarm and the wing bolt.
Right, so this is another ship that is mimicking the player, some kind of sneak attack ship that looks like you, but they have a slightly different shape.
I do really love the concept, just trying to disguise itself and try to blend in, but I assume it's up to no good.
You know it wasn't you though, I mean, because you know who is you, but it's a cute idea that they would try something like that.
Yeah, very crafty.
I don't want to have to animate a slightly different player ship.
Oh yeah, he's done a few of them already.
Yeah, I have done a few of them already. Just speaking personally for myself. Okay, the Wingbolt, the other guy. Okay, so it looks like they have a similar bottom part to the hover ships, the squid ships.
Yeah.
Maybe even the idea is to use the same rotating bottom part, which would be great.
Oh, so it looks like from the antenna, they're going to emit a lightning bolt.
Yes, if you get too close to them, they will zap you. So you have to just stay away.
Stay away or deal with them.
Yeah, stay away or shoot them while not getting too close. It's another one of those ideas that you'd have to play around with to see how it actually felt, because I have no idea what it would feel like to have something that zap you. You know, you have to stay a distance away, otherwise you get zapped. It's one of those ideas that you'd have to implement and see what it felt like. I like that it's a nice, simple idea in terms of using the existing assets and just making a simple.
For sure. But yeah, these are some really cool submissions. Really love the idea of the false alarm. Imagine like a little crafty looking ship resembling the player trying to disguise itself. I just think that's really funny. And the wingboard is really cool, beans up by it. I like the simplistic design, so that's well done. Next up, we have, I believe this is Tara from Lego Guy.
Tara. Okay. Tara attacks with its stinger, making it a close-up fighter.
Oh, okay.
All right, so it's going to be waving that thing around and it strikes you with it, I guess.
Yeah, we have another unique idea. Something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, so it's got like a snake or a scorpion stinger or something on it, and it's actually flailing around trying to strike the player. There'll be a bit of animation involved in getting all of the segments and the pieces working together. I quite like the idea of having something with a flailing thing on it that's just so you have to keep your distance away from.
I love seeing all these unique ideas for enemy mechanics.
Well, it stops you from getting lazy and complacent because it's more ideas than you would have thought of on your own.
Yeah. All right, next up we have the Megaphone from Fate's Punch-In Bag. So this enemy was switched between shooting bullets and then shooting pulses.
Yeah, no, this was a cool idea. Yeah, like one of two ideas that suggested using the sonic pulse weapon against the player so it can actually destroy your bullets with its sonic pulse.
Yeah, sonic pulse is a player weapon, so seeing an enemy utilize it is quite cool.
Again, it's using the existing assets with the gun turrets that we have, which is always nice to see.
Yeah.
I think think this is a really good usable idea. One thing is the engine is on the right-hand side. Every plane in the game with an engine is flying from left to right, and the player comes up behind them because just that's the way the scenery is traveling. Unless it's a hoverer type ship that can fly backwards, I always put the engine on the left and have it fly in the other direction, but that's something that could be, worked around.
Gotcha, yeah.
I like the idea of using the sonic pulse against the player. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, well, thank you for the submission, Fate's Punching Bag. Next up, we have the Deflector from Sonic the God EXE. So it says, the Deflector can deflect bullets for a certain amount of time before its mirror breaks. So yeah, that's a really novel idea.
Yeah, so it has these arms with mirrors on it that can deflect bullets, and it says sonic pulses can break the mirrors faster. So it's one of the suggestions where the sonic pulses actually becomes advantageous because the other weapons behave differently, and the sonic pulse can shoot through things. So this is, I guess, one of several submissions we've received where the enemy has some kind of shield or deflector that's partly protecting it from certain weapons. It's a cool looking design. It may be a little bit of complexity to make it all animated in play, and probably put it into the more experimental end. It's probably a little bit more work than we can afford to do. It's a nice drawing, by the way. It's a really cool drawing.
It's a cool ship design, and definitely love the idea of deflecting bullets. It's added more variety to gameplay, as a lot of these submissions are doing, so love to see it.
Animating the arms would be a little tricky.
Yeah, it would look really cool though.
I'm just thinking of like consistency with shadows and that. And
oh yeah,
if it was all done in 3D models, it would be no issue whatsoever. But of course, we like to do things extra difficult way.
Next up, we have from Bull Squid, the Bomber and the Catapult.
Oh right, yes. Now this was the person who submitted videos of these enemies in use in their own game, right?
Yeah, it's their own game, but they just use it to show off their submissions.
Yeah, but they look great, and their own game looks great.
It does.
So yeah, well done. I really like those catapult ships flinging those little bullets at the player, and they've demonstrated it working in a game. So what do you even need me for?
Yeah, Anthony mentioned earlier that your game looks cool, so we're looking to see what comes of it. Another shoot 'em up here. So yeah, and they even went ahead, besides showing in the game, they went and showed us a 3D render of it. They reused some of the assets from Platypus, and it looks really good.
Yeah, really does.
Well, thanks for the submission, Bull Squid. Well done.
Good luck with the game too. Looks awesome.
Yeah, good luck. Next up, we have one of several submissions from GD Lightguider. This one is the Fly Trap Turret. It's a medium-sized enemy that is capable of shooting EMP pulses towards its target.
Yes, they had a hovering one, and they had one that sits on buildings and things. I guess it's like the fly traps in Super Mario Brothers.
Fly traps. I am disappointed to say I don't get the reference, even though I'm...
They come out of the pipes. They've got the fly trap plants, and they shoot fireballs at you.
The piranha plants.
The piranha plants, yeah.
Yeah, well, those, I recognize them. But yeah, it's another cool idea. It is kind of like a different type of enemy, kind of like a smaller turret shooting like electrical pulses. So it's more unique in that sense.
Now this one is another one that robs you of your ability to fire for a few seconds if you shoot it.
Ah. They say the pulse power-up can repel the EMP pulses, so another benefit.
Yeah, another one that's thinking, okay, can we find some specific uses for the sonic pulse?
Yeah, so really creative there. Thanks for the submission, GD Lightguider. Oh, well, here we have our first slide from Mint Lizard. Mint Lizard has submitted hundreds of fan art for Platypus. We recognize the name well.
Yeah.
They've created their own story, lore, and characters for the game, so it's really cool to see them submitting here. What do we have here, Anthony?
The bonus supply is basically just a ship that gives a random bonus to the player when destroyed, like a power-up. All of Mint Lizard's ideas are straightforward and simple, which is nice. They're just ship designs that get in there and do a basic thing, and it doesn't have super elaborate attack patterns or anything that would be too difficult to implement. They're just a bunch of different, quite nice. I really like the colors on all of Mint Lizard stuff. The color choices are always really nice. So next we've got the Phantom. A medium enemy appears in level 4, and this is an enemy that can turn invisible, which again is a mechanic we have not used and have not experimented with, I wonder.
Yeah. Another interesting idea. Like Anthony said, I'm not sure how that would play out, but it does sound really interesting. And the name checks out as well. Next, we have the Sparrowhawk.
This is a turquoise enemy in the sky, medium-sized enemy. It has lightning beams. It can shoot rockets.
Yeah, On the artwork, they have a fleet of several of them on the screen, so kind of like how the rays come in a fleet and the goldfish come, a few of them together. I'm guessing it's one of those based on the picture.
It may be a little bit too complicated for a small enemy, but maybe not. Just shooting rockets is nice. No, now we have a shield attacker. So the shields actually fly out, and you have to avoid the shields.
Yeah, and they also have a video here demonstrating the mechanic.
Oh, he's spinning, and then they off.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like one of the fish fighters, but it's got like these two bumpers on it that act as shields. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, some cool ideas. Thank you so much, Mint Lizard. I remember they joined this shield attacker ship a few months ago. It was in one of like their artworks. They already had a lot of ideas about stuff for the game, so it's cool to see them bring it up here. And we really love seeing all the fan art from you, so thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, it's great. Right, next, guided missile cruiser. And we've got some variations on the missile boat. So basically, it's like a regular missile boat, but it's got a battery of missiles, a bigger one. Again, it's one of those perfectly good, not too ambitious ideas that would fit into the game very well and wouldn't even require much in the way of new assets.
Yeah, absolutely. They also have the destroyer ship. They call it the Super Destroyer. Hatch and gray fast ship. So like the fast ship, this is like a new variant of it based on the concept art. You can see it at the bottom.
Yeah, I like the way they've like made all these new graphics using the existing graphics. It's got hatch, and it releases fast ships, which is pretty evil.
Yeah, they're already quite the enemy. So seeing this is not my cup of tea, but it will be quite the challenge.
This seems like a ship sub boss.
Yeah, another awesome idea. Thank you for the submission, Arusu BSS. Whoa, next up we have quite a lot of them from Hypnotoad.
Oh, yes. And Hypnotoad has gone and made clay models of all of them, which is awesome.
Yeah, very cool. They're one of the 2 winners for Name Player Ship competition. Yeah, so Hypnotoad is the one that named the Wyvern.
Oh, cool. Wyvern.
Wyvern, yes. So they're back at it again. It says the Imp, a medium-sized enemy, the older brother of the fast ships, enter the screen faster than his counterpart, throws into a tight loop around the player until destroyed. The player becomes trapped, must destroy the Imp in order to escape. He has quite the moveset here. What do you think, Anthony?
Well, so it swoops in and it basically targets the player and sort of goes around and around them, which is kind of similar to what the homing missiles do. This is a nice little fast ship design. It's a spinning jet plane.
Yeah, demonstrated by the pictures they have here. That's cool. Next up, we have the Demon. They say a medium ship, it has a quarter chance each second to fire off 17 or more lasers. Well, the name checks out. It starts in from the top and starts spinning. Needless to say, it's unpredictable. Oh, doesn't sound like a fun time.
Yeah. Might be too unpredictable if there's lasers. We have some similar sort of spinning wheel kind of enemies that may be a little bit less unpredictable. That might be a little too far as random laser beams.
I do like the design here. It's kind of random with the Strickler design. It kind of looks like a bunch of veins or wires coming from the core. So I feel like it fits the name, and like the mechanics suggest, it is not a fun enemy to go up against. Next up, we have the Sledge.
This is cute. Look at it. It's a little teeny guy.
Yeah, it's a bit like the fast ship, except it comes from the bottom and only makes 2 passes, one up and one down. So
it goes up slowly and fast down, quickly down.
I suppose it's just trying to be a nuisance and get the player to collide with it. So you really got to watch out for these ones.
I like the simplicity of that design. It's just like a rhombus with a
rhombus
with a cockpit and an engine.
A rhombus with an engine. That's really funny.
No, it's a parallelogram, not a rhombus.
Next up, we have the Taipan. Really cool name, by the way. And it kind of looks like a cactus, which is kind of funny. They say a small ship designed as a soft counter to the F-27. Designed with firepower in mind. It goes down with 1 hit, but it fires a laser from its nose and 2 bullets from the guns on its side.
So it comes in front of the player, then it goes, if the player's high, it goes low. If the player's low, it goes high. And then it turns sideways and shoots at the player from the side. It's a neat little design. Whether it would work in practice is one of those things that you'd find out when you were fiddling around with it.
Yeah, really cool idea there.
Yeah, Skwarchov, small ship, flies slowly across the screen, not shooting, but leaves flames behind it, which is a neat idea. So the flames come out of the nozzles, top and bottom. They create hazards if they touch the ground, which might be a little bit too complicated. But I like the idea of the flames just lingering in the air for a moment before they dissipate, right? Even if the ship is destroyed. So that's like a floating hazard cast by the flames that shoot out of the 2 nozzles. So they should be destroyed sooner rather than later.
You kind of have to think in advance about destroying the ship because it leaves behind a hazard for the player. it's something you've seen in other games as well, and you kind of have to be careful. Again, it's a cool idea and introduces mechanics that we haven't seen before, so nice idea there.
Next one, the blue ring. This one is another one of those ideas that is quite experimental and complicated. The blue ring, it comes up and it spins up a hurricane, like a hurricane generator, which will like suck all the scrap metal from destroyed ships and adds to the twister. So it's quite a complicated idea. One of those big experimental ideas that we really don't have enough time to play around with and give it full justice. It's another one of those ideas that you'd want to use for a whole level. You could make a whole level out of those ships. I really like the shape of it though. I really like the sort of whirly-bird design of it. I can imagine them shooting up to the top of the screen and then spinning down again.
For sure. Next up we have the Avenger.
First appears when the coastline of Colossotropolis becomes visible. Swoops in from the top, fires a handful of rockets from the top and bottom, launching its gun pods. They charge up and orbit behind it, aiming at the player and bursting lasers. Okay, so it launches these pods behind it, and then the pods fire lasers. It also fires rockets. Why is it so dangerous? If the player destroys the pods first, the Avenger will directly target the player and burst fire 5 rockets from the top and bottom. If the player destroys the Avenger first, then the pods instead fire lightning directly at the player. So if it's a matter of whether do you target the ship or the pods first, it's another one of these quite intricate designs, which is quite complicated and would require quite a lot of experimenting with. It's quite ambitious. There's a lot of moving parts and lots of things to figure out. It's probably too much experimentalism for what we have time for right now, but it's another one of those good creative ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we have the Intercept Saucer. That's a really interesting name.
It looks like a macaron or something.
Kind of looks like a yo-yo.
Oh, yeah, kind of like a yo-yo. They're larger saucers. They follow the squadrons of red saucers. If the red saucers are destroyed, they swarm around the star. So they like target your weapon star to try and prevent you from grabbing the weapon star, which is an interesting idea.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Incredibly annoying. These are little guys, they basically, if a weapon star is on the screen, they're going to fly to the weapon star and get in the way, and so you make it difficult for you to pick it up.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I do appreciate how it changes up the gameplay a bit. You have the weapon stars, which pose no threat to you. You just grab them and go about your merry way. And then this enemy is supposed to change how things work, and all of a sudden you have to worry about these guys guarding the star from you and being a nuisance. So I don't know if it's something I would like to have in a playthrough, but I do appreciate the creativity and making it work with the existing elements of the game.
It's an interesting idea that I would want to try out to see what it actually felt like.
Yeah.
To see if it was actually fun or not.
Well, there's a lot of thank you for the good submissions, Hypnotoad, and we do love that you made it with claymation, or clay, I mean.
Yes, all of the clay models, fantastic.
Nicely done. Next up, we have the Night Buzz from IzzatDJX. You say the Night Buzz. It doesn't shoot, but it becomes invisible when it turns green, and then it goes back and forth.
Invincible. It becomes invincible when it turns green, and then it goes back and forth, so you have to avoid it when it's in its green. Got like a stealth bomber look to it.
Correct. I guess like this and a lot of some previous submissions, they tend to steal the spotlight. They don't coexist with the other enemies on the screen because it becomes the main threat.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, you have to think about like design a new level with it to really give it room for it to
it is one of those enemies. You can see it's one of those enemies where you could have it be the main feature enemy for a whole level, right?
Yeah, I do love the illustration they did. They just have like some sort of glitch frame where it turns invisible or that sort of thing. So it looks really cool.
That's some technology we haven't seen before.
Well, nothing our trusty old platypus can't overcome.
I'm sure.
Well, thanks for the submission, IzzatDJX. Next up, we have the Flying Pineapple, Amphi7S. That's a really wonderful name. And this was actually the last submission for the competition. They submitted it 1 minute before it closed, so they really got there in the nick of time.
Oh, wow. I really like the visuals of this design. It's a great ship design. It's really good looking. I like the colors too, the orange and the cream, all of the different parts on it. It looks like it's got some kind of bottom part that could almost attach. So it's kind of like a flying boat. And they've got a whole scenario docked at port, and the player goes by, and then it sort of comes up behind them and starts chasing them. I think this is a really, really, really nice looking ship, and I could see this as a boss.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a boss.
We don't have a space for a boss at this moment, but it's another one of those ideas where I'd love to sort of revisit it in future. It's a really cool looking ship. I really like the design. It's one of the most stylish designs that we've had, and it's the flying
pineapple.
They say when destroyed, it will drop pineapples. Like a new fruit.
Oh, I get it. They're introducing a new product to their clients, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess there's another fruit, some other produce.
They wanted top
They're
security
stealing.
for this one. But yeah, it's a cool ship design. I really love this picture of like seeing the wings spread out. It looks really cool, like Anthony said.
Yeah, they've got all of the details and the design, all of the different pieces, and it's all labeled.
Yeah, well, thanks for the submission, Nanu. Next up, we have the C-27 replicator from Delta. As the name states, a replicator means that it is a replica of the F-27 platypus with a hexagon cockpit. The wing has been altered to be a swept wing variation. It's said to be carrying the same weapons that the F-27 had. Its only flaw is that it can't use a lightning laser, but they tend to use their jet boosters, and they appear nearly in Colossotropolis. Despite being a replica, it lacks some weapons on the original, but armed with homing missiles as their secondary main weapon.
Yeah, it seems like the main idea of this one is that it uses the player weapons.
I kind of like the idea here. It kind of seems that the F-27 is defeating all the enemy ships, so those guys at Colossotropolis, they tried to replicate the ship to turn it against itself. It doesn't look nearly the same, but it kind of looks like their own attempt at dealing with it, so I really love the lore implication there.
The player weapons would be pretty lethal if they were turned against the players.
Yeah.
The players' one advantage is that the enemy's weapons are all pretty slow.
Indeed.
I think it would fry you pretty quickly if it started launching all of those player shots at you.
Might be some high-level boss. Seeing the F-27 did for the game, well, now you're fighting against yourself all of a sudden, but I do like the concept here, and I think it's really cool. Next up, we have the Kite Surge, another one of GD Light Guider's submissions, and they have a few pictures for this.
Okay, it's got a couple of gliding arms, which it waves as a means of propulsion, and it also acts as a shield that can block incoming fire. So it has these wavy arms out the back that are blocking your fire that you have to sort of shoot when the arms are open in order to attack the ship.
Ah, it has different attack
It's got
patterns.
shields to protect it from the front, although you don't need much protection from the front because there's very little that the player can actually do to fire backwards. But the center, it has a vulnerable center part.
Yeah, another interesting idea. I do like the personalities this ship have. This one is based on a kite, and it looks like a kite, but it's a lethal aircraft, so...
The wavy arms are quite similar to something that nobody's seen yet, some of the new content.
Ah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, I'm sure everyone will be excited once they finally lay their eyes on it. Well, that's the Kite Surge. It's a really cool idea. Love that it's based off a kite, and there's actually another submission that's based off a kite as well, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Oh yeah, that's coming up soon, yeah.
All right, next up we have a lot of submissions from Paula Lee. We have like a fidget. We have a whole lot of these. I kind of like the Mobula. It looks like a game controller, like a DualSense controller. I like the colors there as well. And the mothership, I guess this dispenses fast ships. Oh, that sounds like a terror for me, but another cool design. But they also introduced some underwater vehicles, so they're implying an exclusive underwater level like you mentioned prior. You have the laser shark ship, the small shark ship. But yeah, it's all really cool.
Oh yeah, the laser shark ship, exclusive underwater level. Yeah, if we had an exclusive underwater level, that would be perfect. I feel like we should have an exclusive underwater level, but we don't. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
There was one of them that I think
it was the top right.
A Mobula. That's a nice little boss ship design. I quite like that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of reminds me of the Radiant Silvergun a little bit.
Yeah.
Be nerdy.
That's the one I pointed out. It looks like a DualSense controller, kinda like the PS5 controller.
Oh, that's the one you see. Yeah, it looks like a game controller a little bit.
But yeah, thanks for all the submissions. They look really cool. Next one we have Mushisai, and they submitted the Ninja, the Sharkfish, and the Kite Fighter.
Oh
and
yeah, Mushisai.
They also submitted some concept videos showing off the enemy mechanics, and those are really well done.
I really like the videos, particularly like the timing of the videos. They show like exactly how the ships should move, and the feel is really good in terms of the timing.
Yeah.
So the Ninja is, first of all, it's another one of those circular rotating enemies with partial shields around it that we've seen before, but it's a nice implementation of it that would work really well with a laser turret on it. Second up, we have the Kite Fighter, which is a really interesting design where it's got this kite that unfolds from the back and it just like drops it at the player as something to get in the way. And the way that moves is really nice. I really sort of like the way that the kite opens out and then they just jettison it and fire it at the player.
Yeah.
And then finally the Sharkfish, which is another enemy for level three to attack in the water that appears in front of you and then launches itself out of the water to attack up at you. All three of these designs are really nice, really well thought out, would work really well. And I particularly like the videos and the timing, especially of the videos. It's all worked out really well, you know, you could see exactly how it would function within the game. So there's a really nice, well thought out designs.
Yeah, good work there. Thank you, Mushisai, for the submission. Next up, we've got ChameleonDX has submitted the fish hook. Do you remember this one?
Oh, yeah. We've got all kinds of things going on with this one. We have a weak spot on the bottom, which is like a big button.
Yeah.
We've got a big blade on the bottom, which flies off
Definitely.
and boomerangs towards the player as a desperation attack. We've got a yellow fin on the top that shoots lasers. The cockpit hatch flips up when destroyed. It'd look cool. I'm sure it would. And a laser burrito. It has a laser burrito that the yellow fin fires.
I think this is one of the first where they kind of have like a silly weapon. It's shooting like a burrito out. That's like a silly weapon, but it's a really fun idea.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things going on with this one. You've got multiple attacks. It's a real sort of like enough ideas for several enemies in this. I love that cockpit hatch flips up when destroyed. It'd look cool.
It would, wouldn't it?
You're probably right. Yeah, we don't have any cockpit hatches flipping up as the ship receives damage.
Well, this is quite a creative design, and like I mentioned, the burrito laser is very funny. Next up, we have the Gatling gunship from Farrelkabeh.
Oh yeah, now everyone really liked this design with this donut ship, which has got these three rotating turrets on it. I think it fits really well with the existing kind of silly ships that the Colossotropolans build. It's exactly the kind of thing that they would make. A ship with a big donut on it, rotating guns, rotating for no particular reason, but it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks intimidating, so maybe that works. I'm wondering if the rotation would affect the bullet trajectory.
I don't know that it would make that much difference to the bullet attack. The fact that they're rotating, it would just sort of like offset their position slightly. But the fact that it has these rotating turrets means you could destroy them individually, so it could.
Oh, yeah.
I like that they've got all of these technical explanations here. We've got experimental anti-gravity propulsion. Allows designers to finally get rid of thrusters.
Well, thank you very much.
It has a flight speed of several hundred kilometers an hour. Overheating is a problem of the past.
I wish you would improve the player ships and not the enemy ships.
Yeah, I love all those technical specifications that they've provided with the entry. So in case we need to build a real one.
Yes. Well, after we make Platypus, we'll make one of these. Well, thanks for the submission, Farrelkabeh. Next up, we have the pufferfish from Deridia. This is another one that we featured on our socials. I thought the idea was cool. Some people were saying it's similar to an enemy, a boss ship from Platypus 2, but I have not played it myself.
Platypus PSP has got a ship which launches mines out of the back of it. And that ship may even find its way into Reclade in some form. So it may be quite similar to something that we already have. Having it rotating around, of course, is always something that makes me say, that's a whole lot more animation frames.
Yeah, I do really love the design of it. It's like a flat ship and it dispenses air mines. You already got introduced to them at the beginning of the level 2. But I just like how sleek it looks, like really thin, kind of like a disc.
Yeah, it's a cool design.
Yeah, well, awesome design. Thank you, Deridia, for the pufferfish. Next up, we have submission from the blue hat person. They've submitted the submarine and the card squid. Card squid is such a cool name, by the way.
yeah, it is.
Basically, the ship would come from behind, like the red gunship, and could switch between either a rocket or bullets with the X pattern. It's not really underwater, unless if that's implied somewhere.
People are just trying to pressure me into putting it underwater level in the game.
Yeah, it looks really cool. You kind of see they demonstrate the bullet trajectory. Card squid, a variant of squid that would leave itself if the player does not have time to kill it and immediately leave. Sometimes it would shoot bullets too. It would leave like a regular squid if it multiplies. So I guess what they're suggesting is this ship would clone itself, and if you don't defeat it fast enough, I'm guessing there'd be a limit to how many card squids there are at once, but you would have to defeat it before it makes more of itself. So that's kind of a really cool idea.
I don't know why it never occurred to me to make a cone-topped one. That's quite neat, you know, just with a cone top on it. The self-replicating thing is potentially complicated. Thus the shape,
The shape.
It's all in the word, carrot squid. I made round ones. I made a cylindrical one. I never made a conical one.
Yeah, so really love the design here. Even Anthony appreciates the form factor you've went for.
Even I. And the name's great.
It is great. This is one of my favorite names. I like the color as well. It is kind of like with your ships. You have the goldfish, which isn't gold. You have the card squid. It's not card color.
I know. I don't know that I ever actually it was just the name of the file. I never meant meant for it to be called a goldfish. It was just like goldfish shaped, even though
Yeah.
it's purple.
I understand the background, but I guess that's how things turns out, hasn't it? They found the file names,
I
and that's the lore now.
I know. Once you put something out into the world, it's like out of your hands.
Oh, well, next we have the Starfish from Makuni. They went ahead and made this out of clay, and it's really well done. They reused the assets to make different variations of it. That's really useful because that means that we could get more content out of it.
It's something I like to do. This fits in exactly with the style of things that we do, where you've got that style of ship with the grey, and then they've got the one coloured panel part of it. They've gone and done it all. They've made an animation, they've done the clay, so they know it's going to work because they've demonstrated the entire thing. And I think it would fit really well with the existing content. So yeah, this is really cool. Well done.
Really well done. And they even went ahead and showed the damage frames as well. So they went all the way. Really good job, Mike Uni.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't think about sort of how the damage frames are going to work with the animation. So this is a really well thought out entry.
Next up, we have the Bloomerangs from Cynthia, a boomerang-shaped aircraft that blows high-speed boomerang ammo. This one is quite creative. It's an aircraft that looks like a boomerang that shoots boomerangs. The ship is called Bloomerang, so they blow boomerangs. I'm saying the name over and over. The mechanic here is that if the boomerang misses the ship, they can come back and attack it from behind.
Yeah.
They even have a video here.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I like that it's actually a boomerang.
Yeah.
This is another good workable design. We don't have any kind of boomerang bullets that come back at the player, so it's another good thought.
Yeah, love the innovation here. Thanks for the submission, Cynthia. And appreciate that you also went ahead and demonstrated the movement through a video. That's really generous of you. All right, next up we have the Barracuda from Magma MKII.
There's another enemy that releases smaller enemies. I'm not sure what kind of smaller enemies it's meant to release.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but it is a cool design. I'm saying cool a lot in this video, aren't I? But I do think it is really cool seeing all these designs from the community. I'm wondering if the enemies are dispensed through this door on the ship. It kind of looks like there's an interior, so they might be coming out for there.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what these smaller enemies should be. Maybe a little bit more detail to know exactly what to do.
But it is nice seeing more some more ship designs. We don't have a lot of those, so it's a nice suggestion to get.
People must have noticed we don't have enough ship designs.
Yeah, well, thanks for the submission, Magma. Next up, we've got the Cloud Seeder. This is another submission from GD Lightguider, and I really like this one.
Oh, yes.
So it's kind of like an enemy ship that creates a cloud to...
So it would look like a normal cloud, except it's got this cockpit on the front of it, just sneakily.
Yeah.
It would just look like a normal cloud, and then it would turn dark, and these nozzles would come out of it and start shooting lightning at you, which is a really cute idea.
Absolutely. And I just love the idea that it's an aircraft that creates a cloud for it to disguise itself. That sounds like a really awesome idea.
Which part do you shoot? Is there like a small part within the cloud, or is it the whole cloud?
I'm not sure, but I imagine as you attack the ship, you'd see debris falling out, so that could be a good indicator.
And then the cloud would just...
Yeah, really cool idea, by the way.
You could totally see that in the second level of the game, emerging from the clouds.
It's kind of like the submission we had at the beginning, the Denizen from Hayabusa. It disguises itself as
coming out of the ground, the rising piece of land.
Yeah, and then this one disguises itself as the environment, and it reveals itself to the player. So another similar idea. Both really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the submission, GD Lightguider. Next up, we've got the Beehive plus Drone from Dudfruit. This is one of my favorite designs. I just love the idea that you have the hive.
It's neat, isn't it? The hive.
Yeah, and it's really well done. I just feel like the way it's kind of like drawn like a sketch. It feels like something I'd see like in an art book. So it's really cool looking.
So this is another quite cool idea where the drones are indestructible and they hover around the hive, and you have to destroy the hive rather than the drones.
Oh yeah.
The drones will fly from hive to hive as you destroy the hives, and then they'll finally self-destruct when there's no more hives on the screen. This is another one of these high concept ideas that I feel like you'd want to have a whole level to explore, that you'd have an entire level of beehives and drones, and this concept would be like used throughout, and you'd really thoroughly explore the idea of these drones flying from hive to hive. It's a really cool idea. I think it would require its own stage.
Yeah, that's...
I hope we get a chance to come back to some of these things at some point in the future. I know this was one of the ones that Michel, our programmer, said he really liked. He liked the idea of the drones acting as shields and hovering around the main.
Really cool submission. And like I said, one of my favorites as well. Well, thanks for the submission, Dudfruit. Next up, we have the Hexadron from Typu.
Oh, yes. Resembles a kind of a robot bee or insect of some kind.
It seems as though all these prongs at the front, they will charge up some sort of shield projectile that they can launch punch at the player. Very unique, but it looks really cool as well.
Yeah, so it can generate a large projectile that it can shoot between the 6 legs. It generates a hexagon, like a hexagon plate, and fires it at the player.
And as it goes through the level, it decays and becomes less of a threat.
It's a really neat design. Be complicated to build.
They say it appears in level 4. This weapon is called the Hexagon Wave. Cool. All right, thanks for the submission, Typu. Next up, we've got the Harpoon from Delta.
Okay, this is another boat, because we don't have enough boats. Everybody says so, clearly.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Stage 3 boss. Pride of the Colosotropolis Navy. Only 4 were ever built. I love that we've got the whole story. Carrying advanced systems, which are superior in firepower, but inferior to speed. 2 big homing missiles, 2 triple laser turrets, and we do have triple laser turrets, because we've built triple laser turrets.
Oh, yeah.
Radars, and it has weak spots. So this is like a ship sub-boss, really quite a large ship sub-boss with multiple weapons and multiple parts to destroy.
Yeah, really well equipped, multiple weapons and instruments.
Yeah, it's another cool design. It would be a lot of parts to build. It's probably too big for what we need for now. Again, seems like a boss idea with that many sort of different bits on it and parts to destroy. We need another proper boat level.
Yeah. Love the submission. Thank you, Delta. Next up, we have the Paladin from TE Gamers. I think this is another one we discussed a lot behind the scenes.
It's a really neat design, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really neat design. And I do like the concept. They say it's a large and slow-moving enemy ship that acts as a shield. So I'm wondering, would this shield other enemies? Is that the idea here?
So, well, I guess that all of this, it's just going to block all your fire, right? And it takes a lot of damage. But it's got this thing trailing out the back that you can grab to destroy it quicker. There's a collectible hanging from the back of it.
Yeah.
The front of it, if everything's traveling that way.
Yeah, so they say that, again, the collectible will instantly defeat the enemy. So it seems a bit of a nuisance, but there's a shortcut to defeating it. They have thought that out. And yeah, it's a really cool design. I love the idea of a ship acting as a shield.
I like how its long arms. It reminds me of some of the enemies in Panzer Dragoon. Some of the ship designs and things in the Panzer Dragoon series. It's kind of Mobius kind of looking. Yeah, it's really stylish.
Kind of reminded me of one of those prototype controllers. I forgot what it's called.
Oh, yeah, there were some PlayStation 3 controllers that looked like this.
Yeah.
Like when the PlayStation 3 first launched and they had these banana-shaped kind of controllers.
Oh, yeah, here it is. It looks like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Very funny looking.
I've forgotten all about those controllers. They were very short-lived.
All right, well, thanks for the submission, TE Gamers. Sorry if I said that wrong. All right, next up we have the Ghost Drive or Dive from Kimmery-chan. Kind of resembles the look of a shark.
It's a ghost shark.
It's a transparent ship that will slowly move in a horizontal line and shoot bullets that slowly move towards the player's direction. It's transparent, but you can dodge it easily by moving behind its bullets. They say it doesn't have much health, but it can tank more than the usual ship. I'm not sure.
It doesn't have much health, but it can tank more. I'm not sure. I love how it's got that ghost tail that it wiggles along as it flies. It's got a ghost drive. That's what they're calling it, the Ghost Drive. It's got its own propulsion method.
Yeah, it's another cool design. It makes me wonder, some of these are looking kind of like aquatic animals. It resembles a shark here, but it would be flying in the air. Kind of makes me think if we did have an underwater level, if we would have enemies that could be both airborne and underwater.
Oh, for sure. Because why wouldn't you? Everything can go underwater. It's a video game. I guess some of my original designs were sort of had resemblances to fish as well that people may be picking up on.
But yeah, it's a cool design. Kind of interesting in seeing something that resembles a ghost.
Yeah, I love the Ghost Drive with the waggly ghost tail on it.
Yep. Well, thanks for the submission, Kimri-chan. Next up, we have the Flip Plane from Otor. I guess this is its older brother.
Yeah, like a beefed up flip plane. It looks like it's got a couple of turret guns and a couple of homing missile launchers on it. Quite a vicious looking sub-boss.
And if you click the video, they have an animated demonstration here.
Oh, okay. Okay, yep. So they've got projectile guns and turret guns. And look, they've animated it like taking damage and everything. So they've gone to the trouble of working through the whole process. It's always great to see a video like that because it demonstrates exactly how it would work. And you'd be like, yeah, that would work.
Yeah, really cool looking design. It looks quite threatening.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit more threatening design than most of the existing sort of rounded ships.
Well, next up we have Flipcoin. You got the sea crane, the mother squid, the octopus, the stingray, the baby squid, and the alligator.
Wow.
And they animated it all, so they demonstrated quite well.
I particularly like the Octopulse. That was the other one that's using the Sonic Pulse against you. It's a really cool design with the octopus legs there. And the Stingray is another like good simple one that would fit in really well.
I thought that was a really good mechanic that would fit in well. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nothing too complicated, right? But it's just like diagonal lightnings, top and bottom. Yep, absolutely. One of those designs that would slot right in and would not be a huge amount of work to implement and would fit into the existing level. So it's a good suggestion.
And the design is kind of cool. It kind of looks skeletal, but it has like these metal ribs that it looks like they generate electricity. So it kind of resembles the attack as well.
Yeah, it's like a fish skeleton kind of ship, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a stingray, but it looks like a fish head with the bones.
I do quite like the red mother squid and the light baby squids.
So yeah, it's quite similar to the level 4 boss, I guess, the red squid.
That's kind of cool. All right, thanks for the submission, Flipcoin. Next, we have more submissions from Mint Lizard. We have the ground turret with different weapons. We have the dragonfly, the landwalker, and the scrap blade.
Look at the scrap blade; it's got like saws coming off it.
Yeah.
Ground turret variations is something that we don't have ground turrets like that. Actually, that's like a ground turret just sitting on the ground. But we are going to have some more variations, hopefully, on the. We have some turret variations in the game that are similar to this, like the triple turret and the double gun and that. I really like that dragonfly. That's a cool little ship.
It is really nice. Yep.
It has a scrap blade. That would be cool as well. And let's not overlook the old scrap blade here. Got missile launchers, and it's got this saw blade on a swinging arm that flies around. I say the scrap blade would be a great feature boss. I think, flying around, swinging that arm everywhere.
Absolutely, and the design checks out. I really love how it looks patched together, but it still looks fun. Lava Walker is very intriguing. It's I think this is quite the unique one compared to everything we've seen before.
It seems to be implying that there's a lava stage.
That's a really cool idea, yeah.
People are just trying to pressure me into putting more levels into the game with all of their suggestions.
All right, well, Anthony's doing his best. Well, thank you, Mid Lizard, for these suggestions.
You try.
Next up, we've got the Ruckus and the Minesweeper from Glass.
So the Ruckus is another like a missile launching sort of tank, kind of similar to some of the other ground tank missile launchers that we've seen.
It's a medium track landmass. The Colossal Metropolis use it for protecting the capital city. It's armed with dual guided missile launcher.
Yep, so that's a basic missile launcher. Fine, perfectly good.
Looks cool. We also have
and
the
then
Minesweeper.
This was quite an interesting idea. So they had this idea of a ship that would go along and picking up the mines, and then there'd be the mine hanging off the back that you'd have to avoid hitting because it would go off like a mine. I really quite like the idea of having these ships going along picking up the mines. It also occurred to me when I was looking at this idea that it would be easy to have a ship that just had an open back and it was releasing air mines off the back of it and they were just floating up.
Oh.
That might be a simpler version of the same kind of idea.
I like both ideas because they connect the story in some sort of way.
Yeah. I think that's what the appeal is, right? You kind of make sense of their floating minefield in the middle of the sky. As much sense as you can make of these things.
Yeah, so we really love the Minesweeper idea. I really love how you connected it to a previous part of the game. Well, great suggestions, Glass. Thank you so much. Next up, we got the Octatank from A Fish in Pajamas. And do you know how to pronounce this?
No. CKEMHF. Sorry, I don't know.
Sorry about that. But yeah, the Octatank looks really cool. They added some nice sketches, some explanations, and they actually animated the attack as well.
I love the animation when it shoots and it's got the recoil there. It's great. Boof. They also have suggested like firing a ball that splits into a spread shot, into a fire burst.
Oh. They say it's quite slow and moves kind of wonky. When it shoots, it slightly propels downwards. So yeah, we saw that with the recoil, I mean.
Yeah. The animation is really cool. My main concern would be animating the rotation with the damage, and you've got that. You have to animate the full 360 rotation with the weak point going around. So quite a lot of frames of animation to make it all work. I really like the barrel shape of the design and the way that it looks a little bit too heavy to fly.
Yeah,
that's a cool animation.
You added a lot of character with the recoil there. It actually shows the weight like you suggested. So that's really well done communicating that. And yeah, it's another nice design. Thanks for the submission.
It fits into the style very well.
Absolutely. Oh, we got several submissions from
Oh.
Abel, and I really love the art style here. They drew it out of pixel art, and it looks very endearing.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think what it would look like to see like a shoot 'em up in this kind of art style. I think that would be cool. Jump Mine, a machine that when it sees a player, it jumps towards it to explode in its face.
Yeah,
And
that's a nice, good, workable idea. I mean, it's simple, right? They just settle on the bottom of the screen. When it sees a player, it jumps up, boom.
yeah, we also got the drill ship.
It's another one with a drill on the front.
If it does not hit its target, it goes back in front and tries to attack again. It seems like some of these suggestions, they don't exit the scene. They usually try a few more attempts before they go off.
So this kind of a stabbing kind of a ship. Go towards you and then pull back again.
We got the Magnet Muncher. It uses a magnet to attract the player to its ship and starts munching on the player with the size in its mouth. I really like this idea. It's silly and creative.
This is another one like the Blackhole one, and there was another one with
the beamer, right? With the
the beamer, yes, where it actually has some kind of thing that sucks your player or moves your player. It would break the existing systems, and we'd have to fiddle with it. But it's like, yeah, it's been suggested a few times. It's one of those ideas you'd have to try to see if it was like, that's cool or that's really annoying me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They have the exhaust at the bottom, so very.
Oh, I really like
design.
the other one. Where's the other one of the grappling hook guy?
Yeah,
the grappler. Hook. It's like a flying cow or something with its two.
Oh, the feet. That's really funny. It's a cool idea with the grappler, but using its grapple to influence the player's movement sounds like a lot of work to implement. But a really cool idea, by the way.
It's another one of those sort of high concept ideas that you'd have to really play with.
They also have the Doppler, which I misspelled. It's actually the Doppler. I found that out earlier today. But they said they like the new name, so they're cool with it.
Doppler or Doppler?
Well, they say it's a ship that shoots out a big projectile with two small projectiles rotating around the big projectile.
Oh, okay. Effectively, you've got a projectile that would get wider and narrower as the things orbited it.
I'm not sure about the size. I think what they're saying is you have 3 projectiles, but 2 rotate around the middle one, kind of like planets do.
Yeah, so if they're orbiting around it, so yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're talking about the hitbox. Yeah.
Yeah, so effectively it would become wide, and then now, if you thought of the 3 projectiles as one projectile, that's quite interesting. I like that, the projectiles orbiting.
Yeah. It's cool. The last one they got is the merge ship. It's 3 small ships that if you don't destroy fast enough, they'll merge into one big ship with a minigun. A smaller foot at first.
That is a cute idea, right? It's like they're going to Voltron.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to destroy them, otherwise they come together and they've got a new weapon on them.
It's cool. It creates a sense of urgency for the player and changes up gameplay a bit. I do like
Alex would like that because it's like the enemy in Silkworm. Favorite shoot 'em up, there's like these helicopters that 4 helicopters merge together and become one big helicopter in Silkworm.
That's cool. And Abel, I said before, the picture art looks really cool, but the ideas are really interesting. So
yeah, some of them are complex, some of them are nice and simple. Like that jump mine, perfectly easy. That would be like, yeah, that'll work easy.
Yeah, so well done. Thank you, Abel.
Other ones would require a bit more experimentation, I think. See, the magnet muncher is a bit more ambitious. It's like a hippo or something. They're like animals with their feet in their mouth.
Kind of funny looking, but in a good way.
Yeah, no, absolutely in a good way.
Yeah, well, thank you, Abel, for the submissions. Next up, we've got Throwaway has submitted Glowy Squid, Poison Squid, Bugger, and Giggy.
Okay, so they're just like visual designs.
They kind of look like
that Giggy hardcore reminds me of a painting from a 70s sci-fi that I'd have to dig out. I've got in a book somewhere the design of that ship. Nice color schemes. I like all of the color schemes.
They're pretty unique. Kind of reminds me of like flowers and plants, insects, and maybe some like old radios with the grill they have.
So these are all like not a lot of information, but I guess they're all kind of sub-bosses of some kinds, and they're all like firing. Glowy Squid and Poison Squid, they seem to be variants. They're the same picture, but with different color.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what the difference is between them.
They also have some new projectiles, which I haven't seen before, so that's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, those triples, they're cute, aren't they? It'd be nice to have some triple bullets like that.
Well, yeah, the shape is really cool. They have the geometric shapes and like the round shapes. It's a cool enemy design. Next up, we have the Sharkfish from Hound Blizzard.
Here we have a Sharkfish, which is just like the fish fighter, but bigger, and it's got a shark face on it. I think that's what they're implying there, right? Is that like to scale, so it'd be like a giant fish fighter.
What's that one enemy from Mario called? Like the Big Bomb?
Oh, right, yeah, the Bullet Bill.
Yeah, Bullet Bill. It's kind of that idea, just a larger version of a smaller enemy, but this one has a face on it. it. So that is a cool idea.
Yeah, we've got high-res images of those fighters, so we could add a bigger one, paint a face on it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Ability is just chase a player. Oh yeah, so it's kind of like a big homing guy.
Yeah, but 10 times the firepower. Oof. Still cool nonetheless. All right, our last submission, another submission from GD Light Guider, the Swarm Eye.
All right, let's have a look at this.
It may be passive at first glance, but beware. It's an anti-air defense. It uses a strong electromagnetic fields to not only prevent ship to pass through, but to also power its swarms. There are light enemies that absorb any incoming fire. So this is like some sort of boss enemy.
Yep, so we've got a large circular enemy, and you've got the small circles that fly around, and they're attached by lightnings.
Yeah.
This is a well thought out idea because you've got all of this motion, and the enemy's going to be doing all of these things. But as you can see, it's not going to be difficult to animate because they're just like individually moving pieces which have got a lightning. So if the eye is destroyed, the lines disappear, and the swarms will kamikaze at the player. So they become like suicide bullets when you destroy the middle.
It's really cool. I'm not the programmer myself, but I imagine that if you program some sort of movement for the swarms, you can just generate the line in between them. So
absolutely,
like
right. You can have them just basically have the swarms on, well, we'd call it a spring, not a real spring, but a programmer's spring to keep it sort of like loosely attached to the main parent object. And then you just use a little bit of trigonometry to figure out the lines. That would be easy. That's a good workable boss. It's quite a surreal design, this one, I have to say. It's quite abstract. It looks like some kind of religious icon or something. It would work really well as a boss or sub-boss. I think this is a really good design. Totally usable.
It looks complicated from the look, but when it comes to implementation, like you described, it seems like there would be an easier time with this one.
Compared to some of the other ones that have things like robotic arms and attachments that, that have to pivot and rotate and have mechanical joints and that, having just like a floating piece which is attached by a bit of lightning, much easier from a animation and graphics point of view.
Absolutely.
It's very stylized. It's an interesting look on this. It's not even like a spaceship looking thing. It's kind of like a dream catcher or something.
Seems more like a alien organism in that sense. So that's mechanical, more mysterious organism.
I like it.
Me too. So this was the final submission, and now it's time for us to announce the winner.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll let Anthony take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was not easy, I tell you that. And I wish we had time to include many, many more because there were so many good ones, and I could have chosen. I went back and forth between a whole lot of them, thinking about which one I'm going to choose. In the end, I decided, I think, we're going to give it to McCuney for the starfish. It's a nice, simple idea that would work really well. They thought it through really well. They made a video. They made clay models to demonstrate how it would all work. I really like the way that they made 3 different variations on it and showed how that it would work in the different parts of the game. And I really like the way that they thought about how the existing style and used the existing style in the design. And the fact that they really thought about how the parts were going to be animated, how some parts would be moving, some parts would take damage, how it was all going to fit together from a technical point of view. And they actually went and did it and demonstrated it. So you can see it working all there. I think it's a great little design. And in addition to this, I also, in passing, I have a use for one of Mint Lizard's little ship designs, the Dragonfly here. I need a little ship like this to fly past and just give you a power up for shooting that one little ship. So I would like to also include Mint Lizard's Dragonfly as a minor enemy. Apart from that, I guess I would just like to say thank you to everybody who submitted a design. I'm blown away. I wish I could include more of them. I hope we can do something with some of these designs in some future endeavor. But for the time being, hoping to include a gallery of all your fantastic designs within the game. We're certainly going to have a gallery up on our Claymatic website showing off all of your awesome designs. So thank you so much to everybody who took the trouble. And I hope you all had fun. That's probably an enormously long video we've made, but it's so cool to look over everything and talk about all the designs. I hope it was enjoyable for everybody. And you have any final thoughts to add, Green Cat?
Yeah, congrats to MacUni. Your submission is really well done, and like we mentioned before, it's really cleverly made. You have the base asset that we can reuse to get more content out of it, so it is very generous to our time schedule. And not only is it that, but it's also a cool enemy to begin with. So congrats on winning, and also congrats to Mint Lizard. Anthony said he had a use for your Dragonfly concept. He said it matched perfectly to something he needed for the game. We're going to be picking two submissions here. We have the winner, who is MacUni, and we're also going to be including this submission from Mint Lizard as a bonus. But yeah, really awesome submissions here, guys. And thank you to everyone who submitted. It's been a pleasure looking through all the submissions, seeing all the cool ideas, all the story, the concepts, mechanics. Really cool. So thank you so much for participating. And we hope that the video was entertaining for you to watch.
Yeah, so that's our video. We sign off. We'll see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
All right, thanks everybody. See you all.